I have noticed a non-small amount of criticism levied at Resident Evil 4 in comparison to its remake that I believe to be not only unfair, but unfounded. One of the main criticisms of this game is that the player cannot move while aiming, and that not being able to do so is not only a flaw in and of itself, but that being able to do so is superior, not just a difference in design. This video exists as a defense of RE4's main gameplay design because that's bullshit. In Resident Evil 4, the player is issued tank controls and red dot sight aiming. Additionally, the player is not allowed to move if they choose to aim, and if they choose to move, they can no longer damage the opponent. This fundamental choice funnels all player decision-making down two paths: fight or position. The reason I take issue with people who say that this design is outdated is because I believe it stems from a fundamental misinterpretation that they are just different, and they are asking different skills from you. By the game scrutinizing your movement patterns, it now forces the player to come correct with their aim, and forces players to actually recognize valuable positions. Where you choose to lock down the position matters, and when you leave that position matters too. The enemies are about on Leon's level in terms of movement potential while fighting, and due to this level of parity, the player has to consider which targets are more valuable than others, and has to solve where to stand most valuably at any given moment. And once you do stand, there are often so many more enemies than Leon that you're committed and have to solve your current position before you can reposition. If you are allowed the ability to reposition freely, it takes away from the claustrophobic element of play. I don't want to come across as a hypocrite, and I recognize that the remake's way of doing things is a different design, but remember, Resident Evil 4 is a horror action. Being confined and claustrophobic and having to solve positions uncomfortably is far closer to the horror genre than being able to position while attacking is. The way the game is teaches the player to fight out of bad positions instead of retreat from bad positions. Retreating and repositioning are incredibly important skills, but by scrutinizing the player this way, retreating is actually even more rewarding in Resident Evil 4 because you have to choose to do so. You must sacrifice attacking potential in order to reposition, and you often have to earn it first or start combat by choosing your position. In doing it this way, Resident Evil 4 is extremely rewarding to get good at. You will often be surrounded and so will have to clear ahead and then turn around to the people at your flank. This is one of the few games where I prefer having headphones on and listening to the game rather than listening to something else on the side, because positioning and being aware of your surroundings through sound cues is something you can't afford to ignore. Aiming feels like being in the batter's box, and as such, provides this clean, in-the-zone effect when you play well. This game is really sick, and I think that this particular criticism is a complete non-issue and is more emblematic of style than any sort of artistic failing or sign of age. A lot of people who complain about old games being outdated or too hard, when really all old games did differently was scrutinize the player and force them to adapt since there were no patches. The vast majority of people who would criticize this specific aspect of Resident Evil 4 don't even know how to recognize or move into a strong position in the first place, so the ability to move while shooting wouldn't even prevent them from dying.
Stand your ground.